You know those people who just seem to have it all? They get the promotions, they have these great relationships, they can just walk into a room and command it? Well, what if I told you they're not just lucky? It turns out they're speaking a hidden language, a language of cues that once you learn it can change absolutely everything. Okay, let's dive right in. First up, get this. This is a fact from behavioral research that just blew my mind. Your brain is 12.5 times more likely to believe a gesture than a word. Think about that for a second. When what we see and what we hear don't line up, our brain goes with our eyes, every single time. It's because it is so hard to lie with our body language, and that's what makes it so incredibly powerful.
So here's the thing that really matters. Success in pretty much any interaction you can think of. A big job interview, a first date, you name it. It's not just about the words you're saying. It's about the hundreds of nonverbal signals you're sending out. These are the building blocks of that hidden language, and they decide whether people are going to trust you, like you, and actually take you seriously. So how in the world do we decode this language? Well, a great place to start is with the work of Vanessa Van Edwards. She's a behavioral investigator who calls herself a recovering awkward person. She just felt like she completely missed the memo on how to connect with people, so she decided to turn it into a science and figure it out.
And this quote from her just nails it. What she found was that charisma isn't some genetic lottery. It's not something you're born with or you're not. It is a skill, and it's a skill that can be learned. It's all about the science of understanding which signals to send and, just as important, how to read the signals that other people are sending your way.
Okay, so that's the big idea. But how does that actually work in the real world? Well, this whole complex language can be boiled down into a surprisingly simple little framework. Van Edwards calls it the charisma equation, and it basically governs how people see within the first few seconds of meeting you. And this is where it gets really interesting. Researchers dug in and found that a whopping 82% of our first impression of someone comes down to just two key signals: how warm we think they are and how competent we think they are. Everything else, your clothes, your job, the actual words you use, that's just 18%. So let's break these two signals down. Warmth cues are all about trust and friendliness. They're answering the subconscious question, hey, can I trust you? On the other side, you've got competence cues. These signal power and capability. They answer the question, can I rely on you? People who are truly charismatic, they're masters at signaling high levels of both at the exact same time. All right, let's get practical. Let's say you feel like you're often overlooked, or you just want to project a little more authority and be taken more seriously. Then you need to dial up your competence cues. And luckily, there are some super simple but really powerful ways to do that. First, maximize the space between your earlobes and your shoulders. You know how when we get anxious, we kind of hunch up and shrink? Confident people do the opposite. They keep their shoulders down and back. It's a physical way of showing you're relaxed and in control. Second, when you make a statement, end it with a downward inflection in your voice. Going up at the end makes it sound like a question, like you're not sure. Going down signals conviction.
And here's a real pro-level move for your hands. It's called the steeple. This is one of the highest-rated gestures for leaders. Why? Because it shows your hands, which builds trust. But it does it in a way that signals you are poised, you're confident, and you've really thought about what you're saying.
Now, let's flip the coin and look at the other side of the equation. Maybe being taken seriously isn't your problem. Maybe you worry you come across as a little intimidating or cold. If that's the case, you need to dial up your warmth cues to build that trust and connection.
And here are 3 easy ones you can use right away. First, the slow triple nod. Research actually shows this encourages the other person to talk up to 67% longer. It's a nonverbal way of saying, tell me more. Second, the head tilt. This exposes your ear and it signals, I'm really listening. And third, just lean in a bit. This physically closes the distance and signals that you're engaged and interested.
But what happens if you don't send enough of either signal? Well, you end up in the danger zone. A classic example is the founder of the company Ring when he pitched on Shark Tank. He had a brilliant billion-dollar idea, but his presentation was so stoic and unreadable that it signaled both low warmth and low competence. He walked away with no deal because the sharks just couldn't get a read on him. And here's where it gets even bigger. This isn't just about your own success. The cues you send out have a direct, measurable impact on every single person around you. As we're about to see, they are literally contagious. A massive study that looked at over 58,000 work hours found that if you sit next to a high performer, your own performance goes up by 15%. But if you sit near a toxic, low performer, your performance plummets by a staggering 30%. This tells us something huge. Negative cues are twice as contagious as positive ones. We literally catch the vibe of the people around us. So the big takeaway here is simple. Your nonverbal communication is, in itself, a form of leadership. The signals you choose to send, confidence or anxiety, warmth or coldness, they don't just define how people see you. They actively shape the feelings and even the performance of your team, your family, your friends, everyone.
And that leaves us with one final, powerful question. Every single interaction is a choice. You can just be passive and let your old habits send whatever signals they want. Or you can be intentional. You are constantly broadcasting a message to the world around you. So what cues are you choosing to send?